So what is a rich text block and how do we use it? Well, if you remember a few videos ago, I mentioned that the rich text block can allow us to show multiple text styles in a single text block. For example, if we wanted our continues over here to be in red, we can't do that with the normal text block. We would have to use the rich text block. So let's give that a try. If we add our rich text block to our canvas panel, and we try adding some text, let's say, hello world, you'll notice that nothing shows up. Well, actually something does show up. If we zoom in really close, you can notice these purple A's in blocks over here. The reason it's doing that is because it doesn't know how we want to style our text. It just knows that we have this text over here. So to let it know how we want to style our text, we have to give it these sort of tags. So our opening tag will be normal, and we have to also end this with a closing tag so it knows where to stop. And now we just have a lot more A's. The reason for that is because it doesn't know what normal looks like. So to tell it what normal looks like, we have to go down to our appearance down here, and in our text style set, we can click on this and create a new data asset. This is going to be, or data table. This is going to be DT for data table, text styles. Hit OK. And the structure its type is going to be rich text style row. Click OK. Now if we double click to edit this, you'll notice that we have a lot of empty space over here. And it's split into two rows. This row up here is going to show us our text styles details, and this right here is where we edit those details. So we hit a plus sign down here, we can create a new text style, and this row name we can call this normal. Our font family, let's make it Roberto. It's going to be bold. It's going to be size of 28 with a color of, I'm not sure why I did that, of black. If we save this, go back to our dialog, and hit compile now, we now have hello world in big black letters because we told it it's going to be normal, and it ends over here. If we did not have this ending tag, by the way, we'd go back to showing nothing, or those purple squares, because we never told it where the normal tag is supposed to end. So we have to give it those ending tags, and it pops back up. Let's say you wanted world to be in red. We can go to the beginning of world and do red. And okay, here's something we should note. This red tag actually shows up as text in here because our normal tag goes from left to right looking for our ending tag, which is this over here, and it finds it at the very end of the string. So it thinks that everything between this ending tag and this normal tag is going to be just text displayed as normal, as in the normal text style. So it doesn't recognize that this red tag is a tag until we close out our normal tag first. So before this red tag, we will do a closing tag. And now you notice red is in nice big black letters, but the rest of it is back to those purple A's in squares, because our text style doesn't know what red is yet. So let's make another style. We'll call this red. Font family is Roberto again. It's going to be bold. Size of, I'm going to go 27 this time because I'm going to give it a slight outline color. It's going to be size of 1, and our text color is going to be sort of this darkish red. Let's make this 0.5. Hit save, go back to our dialog widget, and hit compile again, and now world is now in nice big red colors with a black outline. So what does this mean for our dialog? Well, we could go through each and every single one of these and type in normal before them and give an ending tag at the end of them, but that's going to be a little bit of a pain, especially if we have a lot of lines in our dialog, in our script. And it's also a little awkward to read. You know, we look at this, it says, it's fair, it said, normal, welcome to this tutorial series, and it's awkward to read. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to make a function to automate this for us. So let's get rid of this. Save that. And we're going to go to our content browser, we're going to right click, go to blueprints. This is going to be a blueprint function library, and we're going to call this visual novel library, vnlib. Here we go. If you don't know, by the way, a blueprint function library is just a class that has a bunch of functions that can be called from anywhere. They can't, however, have variables because, well, they don't. Excuse me. Because a blueprint function library is all the functions are static functions, so there can't be any variables in our blueprint function library because there are no static variables in blueprints. So what can we do with this? Well, let's rename this first to target text. What this function is going to do is it's going to take in a text, new parameter text. This is going to be our in text, and it's going to spit out a string. Let's call this out string. That can be read by our, what is it, rich text block to display our text properly. So first off, let's convert this text to a string because otherwise we can't really do anything with it. So to string. And what I wish I could do is click off here and say promote a variable. However, like I said, our blueprint function library can't have any variables. So instead what we need to do is we need to make a local variable by going up here to local variables and hitting this plus sign. This is going to be processed string. And this is just going to be the string we're working with as we're processing, well, our text. So set our process string to be our in text. Let's straighten that. And eventually we're going to return our process string. Compile, save. So what's the first thing we need to do with our process string? Well, actually, first let's do a sequence because we're going to do a bunch of things in an order. So sequence. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our text has an opening tag, because in our dialog, we're not going to bother typing in any tags unless we want like specific words to be in different tags. So like I said, we want this word to be in red, and then we want everything after that to be in normal. That's basically the most we're going to type into our text as far as tags go. So let's get rid of these actually. Save this. Alright. To add an opening tag, first we need to make sure that we don't actually already have an opening tag. So let's go process string starts with, and we're going to check to see if it starts with the less than sign. If it does, we're not going to bother doing anything because we already have an opening tag. However, if it doesn't, what we need to do is we need to set our process string, and we're going to append to the beginning of it an opening tag. And our default tag, if we don't specify one, is going to be normal. Actually, let's just move these over. Select all of these, right click, alignment, straighten connections. Here we go. Comment this is going to be make sure our text starts with an opening tag. That's the first thing we're going to do. I'm going to add some more execution pins because I know I'm going to need them later. And the very last thing we're going to do is, okay, so let's say we have our in-text. This is going to be all your base are belong to us. What we have now is an opening tag, normal. All your base are belong to us. But now we need the closing tag. So let's do that at the very end, or actually near the very end. because at the very end we're going to return our process string. So before the end, we're going to tell our process string to add the ending tag. Append the ending tag. Straighten these. Comment, this is going to be close last tag, or style tag. So now we end up with this. And if all we were doing was showing our text normally like this, then, well, we wouldn't need to use a rich text node. So what would it look like if we weren't just doing this? Well, we could have... Actually, first let's do something else, because that's going to be really easy to do. In RenP, when you type in your script, if there's a speaker, it automatically adds quotes for you when it's typing out the text in the game. I want to do the same thing here, because I don't want to have to add quotes every single time in our dialogue, because that's just more work. So we're going to say, we're going to add a new input. This is going to be a Boolean. And the name of it is going to be add quotes. So after we make sure our text starts with an opening tag, we're going to say if we're adding quotes, so branch over here. If we're adding quotes, then first off, well, what we're going to do is we're going to set our process string to be something that's append string. The last part's really easy because it's just going to be the quote. Because remember, our closing tag isn't there yet, so we can just add the quote to the end of it. And then it's going to be followed by our process string. Well, that's normally what would happen. However, our process string starts with the tag. If we were to add our quotes right now, like this is step 2 now. If we were to add our quotes like this, we would get a quote. Come on. If we were to add a quote, it would go like that. It would add a quote to the... Wow, that's really annoying. Okay, it would add a quote to the very beginning over here, and it would add a quote to the very end. If we would just say say to sandwich our process string with quotes. So instead, what we need to do is we need to find out where our first closing tag is over here, because after that is going to be where our text actually begins. That's where the quote needs to go. So we need to find out where this is and add a quote after that, and then add our text and add the quote. So how we can do that is we can go to our process string and say split, and what this is going to do is it's going to find the first instance of whatever this in string is, and it's going to split our left string and our right string. So what we're going to find is our greater than sign. So this left string is going to be our very beginning. This is going to be our tag. However, this split string, what it does is it leaves out the character or the string that I found. So if we were to look at our text over here, instead of splitting it like this would be our left and this would be our right. This is still our right. However, it takes out this greater than sign, and this is now our left. Or sorry, this is our left. So we need to add that closing sign back in. So we would go closing sign, and then we would add our quote, the opening quote for that, and we would take everything that was to the right of that, which was our text, and then we would add our quote at the end. So we can actually get rid of this pin, remove this pin, and if we're adding quotes, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go from all your base art belong to us like this. That's step 1. And then we're going to add our opening tag, which is step 2, or that's step 1. And we're going to add our quotes, which is step 2. So this would be a quote over here. This would be a quote over here. And that is unbelievably annoying. Here we go. Let's strain these connections, alignment, strain connections. We'll go like that. Comment, add quotes. Moving on, let's say we had a text style that was over here. We want our R to be red. And we want the rest of it again to go back to being normal. Normal. What we would end up with is all your base R over here, red, and normal. Actually, let's make this text a little bigger, in case you can't see it very well. R normal. If you remember earlier, when I showed you what happened when you did not close your normal tag before adding another tag, these tags would just end up as text that shows up on our screen. So we need to go through each of these, and we need to add a closing tag before them in order to close out the tag before it. To do this, what we need to do is we need to go to our process string, and we're going to say replace with, or replace in line. And what we're going to search for is our opening tag of our, or the opening character in our tags. So it's going to find every instance of this. And what we're going to replace it with is a closing tag plus that character again. So what we're going to say is we're going to say, hey, we found one of these, and we're going to replace it with a closing tag and that character again. I really don't know what it's called. Copy. So we found one over here, and now we found one over here, and we found one over here, and we're just going to replace them with this. So now our normal is now closed before this red tag starts, and this red tag is now closed before this normal tag starts. There's one more problem, however, is that we now have this closing tag at the very beginning, which doesn't make much sense. And we're always going to have that closing tag at the beginning because we make sure our tag starts with an opening tag. To do that, to get rid of that is actually really simple. We can just go to our process string, and we say right chop, or yeah, right chop, and we're going to chop off 3 characters. Set process string to be that. Straighten these connections. Comment this is going to be close close our tags. Let's just say that. And then at the very end, we're going to close our very last tag because we still haven't done that up to this point. So we're just going to add the closing tag over here. And this should now be gone. So this is what we're going to end up with when we do our process string. Compile, save that. Let me test it really quick. Let's go to our level blueprint. Instead of doing this stuff, I'm going to say print string. There's going to be to target text. Oh, we still have these execution pins over here. To get rid of them, we're just going to click on our target text. I want to say peer. This is a peer function. Here we go. And our in text is going to be something like, well, let's start with hello world. Compile and play that. And we have normal tag, hello world, closing tag. Alright? If we add quotes, compile, play, we now have our quotes running our hello world. Alright, and if we want our world to be red, by typing in a red tag before that, compile and play, it now does that properly. That didn't show up for very long. Let's go to our output log. It now says our normal tag, quote, hello, end the normal tag, start the red tag, world, quote, and end tag. Alright, so that's working fine and dandy. Let's get rid of this. Let's go back to our event play. Let's plug that in. Didn't mean to hit save. And let's replace our... Well, first off, let's get rid of this rich text block over here. And let's replace our dialog text with a rich text block. I wonder if we can right-click replace with... No, we can't. Alright. So goodbye dialogue text. Let's delete this. And hello rich text block over here in our border. Padding of 32, yep, that's fine. And we need to set our text style sheet. And that should be fine. Compile, save this, and now we have errors. That's because back in our graph, it doesn't, when we set our text, it doesn't know what our dialog text is anymore. So let's go to our rich text block. Is variable, yep, this is going to be our dialog text. Dialog text. Compile, save. Our errors are actually gone now because we can actually can we? Dialog text. This is rich text block. Yep, plug this in. Get dialog text. Okay, this should actually be giving us an error, but it isn't for some reason. Compile. That's strange. Alright, so for some reason it thinks that these dialog texts are still, it thinks it's compatible with this set text. It isn't. So we need to get rid of these and redo all these connections. So let's find all references to these, or actually find our references to set text. Find references. And no references found. Wow, that's amazing. Alright, well we'll just have to do it one by one then. So over here, get rid of this dialog text. I'm going to say set text. And our in text is going to be, instead of get active no text, what we're going to do is we're going to get, or to target text, to target text. Instead of just directly turning this into a string. So plug that in there, and plug this into here. This is taking up more space than I want, so actually let's go back to our get to target text and let's add another output. And this is going to be a type of text, and this is going to be out text, just to save a little bit of space. We're going to convert it into, okay, get rid of this. Break link and hit this X sign to get rid of that. Let's plug this into here. Compile, save this, back in our dialog. We now have an out text over here. We can plug this into set text. And the add quotes is going to be if our dialog context has an active participant. And I believe we cannot actually just plug this back into our boolean. We're going to have to say is valid. So if there is an active participant, we're going to add quotes. Compile, save this. There's still more instances of set text we have to replace, so that would be over here, dialog text. Get rid of these. Let's just copy this. Set text, out text, or actually no, our text over here, that should be empty. Break link to that. Move on to the branch. I believe over here, yep, set text. Let's get rid of this. Dialog text, set text. Plugging in just to string. And I believe in our click to continue over here, yep, we also set our text down here. Get rid of these. Dialog text, set text. Compile, save. Hey, now we actually have an error over here. Set text. Pin is invalid. Text must have a wired input into it. Okay, we can just fix that by right click or dragging off here and say make text. Make literal text. Here we go. Compile, save, go back to our level blueprint to start our dialog. Yep. We're also going to set our text speed to be instant for this right now, and you'll see why later. Compile, save, press play, and it should show up fine. Welcome back to this tutorial. Click. We have a speaker, it's Furia, so now we have our quotes. Have you made a visual novel before? So let's test to make sure our styles actually work when we type them into our dialog. So welcome back to this tutorial. I'm going to make 2 in red, and I'm going to make the rest of it back in normal. Save, press play. Welcome back 2 is now in red to this tutorial. Alright, so that works. You go away, CCleaner. Yes, excellent. We also want to do this for our buttons because there's a chance that we want our buttons to be in different colors. So back in our content browser, let's go to our dialog options. Instead of using text block, delete this and graph. Okay, there's only one instance where we set text over here, so that's fine. We will add a rich text block using the DT text styles. Compile, save. Yep, I know. There's gonna be. Go back to our graph. Instead of text block, delete this, set text. We'll get our rich text block. Set text there, set text. Compile, save, and back in our dialog, when we show our options, if we're updating the text, yep, over here there's an error. Instead of setting our text block, we have to set our get rich text block 0. And we're going to set that text, set text. One more thing, when we get our text for our options, instead of just using our get option text, we now also have to convert this into our target text. So to target text. And we're never going to add quotes because there is no speaker for our dialog options. But yeah, instead of adding our get option text, we're going to convert it to a target text first and then plug that in. Compile, save. If we hit play, our options should still show up. And if we want to, over here, say, you cannot select me, you cannot will now be in red. Sorry, we don't add the ending tag to it. We just have to add the red. Oh, and we have to make the rest of it back in normal. Save that. Press play. You cannot select me, and that's now in red. Well, it's a little muted because of the way the disabled image works for buttons, but it's now in a different text style, as you can see. Yes, excellent. All right. So there is one problem left, and that is if our text speed is not instant. So if we go back to 0.05, compile and save. Here's what happens. We press play, nothing pops up except when the text style changes. And when the text style changes, it pops up in chunks. That's because what's happening is because our text style is typing out like this. It's saying, hey, this is what our text is right now at the very first character. And nothing's going to pop up for that, obviously. Nothing's still popping up, and it's still not popping up all the way until we hit this end tag over here, and then all of this will pop up in a chunk all at once. And we're actually going to fix that in the next video because I'm fairly certain I'm going to screw it up. So I'll hope to see you there.